Hi, I'm Olivia Lynch. I am really honored to be here. I was saying earlier, I'm in my second best room. My first best room is in the classroom with students. The second is with the practitioners who work with them. And I'm going to allow them to talk to you about themselves because how we view ourselves is actually who we are, much more so than anything anyone can say about us. So I will quickly just introduce and have each participant say something about themselves. So, Dr. Powell, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself your own way and then share a belief or philosophy that you have about education and the students you serve?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Letha Hopkins-Powell. I am the principal at Walt Whitman Elementary, located here in Pontiac, Michigan. It is my pleasure to be a part of this wonderful conference. Um, I'm, a, I'm proud to say that I am alumni of the Pontiac School District. I was born and raised here in Pontiac and went through Pontiac School. I was a classroom teacher for 31 years, and I will always be a teacher at heart because I have a passion for teaching and learning. My philosophy is I have very high expectations for all students. I truly believe all students can learn when there's effective teaching strategies provided to them. I think you can also, I also talk about my philosophy is about the love that I have for students. I believe that every kid can be successful when they truly know that you love them and you care about them being successful. I also believe what my philosophy is when students are provided, as I said earlier, that rigorous curriculum and meaningful instruction in a well structured learning environment, they will meet that expectation. So, this is why I say that I do have high expectations for all students,
Thank,
and that
thank,
is my philosophy of education.
thank you, Dr. Powell. Ms. Helfman, could you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your thinking about this great profession of ours?
Of course. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be here among educators, especially, I think, in this moment for the reasons mentioned with climate change and reparations. Educating kids is more important than almost any charge that we have. Um, I am a new history teacher, a new high school teacher. It's my second year in the profession. Before that, I had ambitions to be an academic historian, but I realized that my true passion was working with kids and helping them see the importance that history has for helping them understand the world and their connections to each other. The most important philosophy for me as a teacher has always been about connections. I think it's critically important to build connections to the material for students, especially when we're talking about history and we're dealing with young people who've only been here for a minute. They don't have a great sense of the past and the weight of it. So helping them find ways to connect with that and to see themselves in it, especially for my students. I teach at a majority Black school. And the history curriculum set by our state standards is improving, but doesn't really reflect the history of their families and a lot of their interests, which are learning about connections to places like Africa and its importance for world history. So helping them see those connections has been really important to me. And also, like Dr. Hopkins-Powell said, just connections to us as people and to each other as people. We like to say in K through 12 education that we're teachers of kids first and content second, because they're not going to learn if they don't believe and know that you love and care about them.
Mhm.
I wouldn't. And so it's important for them to help feel a sense of community and belonging as we learn about the world together.
Thank you. Well, this is called a round table. Were we in the same room, we would be sitting around a table talking. However, we are virtual, but we're going to keep that same spirit of a beautiful conversation. Dr. Powell, I would love for you to share practices that foster a student trust and academic success,
Mhm.
specifically practices in connection with Black students and other students of color. What practices do you have in your school that foster trust and academic success. Can you be specific as you share them with us and give us a picture of what that looks like in your space?
Yes. So one of the things that I truly believe that's so important is that I have an open door policy. Okay. They know that they can come to me, and Whitman is a K-5 school. So you're talking kindergarten through fifth. They know they can come to me any time of the day, that if there's something that they're not happy with or they've had a problem in the classroom, my door is open. And I take the time to listen. If a student's on 10, first thing I say to them, okay, so tell me what's going on and what happened. Okay. So again, as I said, I maintain an open door policy, just making sure that they know that I care, making sure know that if there's something wrong, they can come to me. And as I share with my staff, that it's so important that we have to understand who they are and know that whatever comes through that door, we can make a difference. Okay, Dr. Lynch, in that I work hard to sustain our warm climate and culture in the building. Whether it's a birthday celebration, we go through in the morning, we announce the students' birthdays, we announce the staff birthdays. I share with the teachers the importance of building a relationship with students and the importance of having that relationship. It opens up a sense of trust with our students, I should say. Okay. So that's one of the things that we do. Another thing that we talk about when necessary is if I have to cover a classroom, I cover a classroom. I ride the bus. As you all know, that it's a bus shortage everywhere throughout the United States. So there's times that I have to ride the bus home because they have a driver who's not familiar with the route. And that has happened several times. Yes, it has. I thought I was going to have to end up driving the bus, but I didn't. Yes.
I want to say in the past, you have shared a really magical and academic practice that you have in your school, and that's about your connections to community and partners, and how that led to the creation by you or your students of a book club. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, yes, I have a fourth grade student, and you're going to get those students who are so outgoing. And she came to me and she says, Dr. Powell, I would love for us to start a book club. So in the midst of that, I have a partnership with Read to a Child, and Read to a Child is a nonprofit partnership that that's work with children with literacy. Okay, so what they do, they come every Wednesday and they read with our kindergarten through second grade students during their lunch period. Okay, so one of the volunteers there that's with Read to a Child, she reached out to me and she says, Dr. Powell, I hear one of your students would like to have a book club. And she says, that's so good that, you take time to listen to them. And I said, yes. So with that partnership with Read to a Child, one of the volunteers came in and they chose the book. The title of the book was Twins. And the author of the book, she reached out to him. The volunteer did. He flew in from Chicago to come and sign the book. And he was a twin. He's a twin of a twin. So it was really interesting. And just to see the students engaged in the book, because it taught them about character education, how good the character says who you are. So being honest and open and trustworthy. She kind of went through the 9 traits of character education with them. And he talked about building a good character. Also, he talked to them about how they can become an author. So with that right there, it gave them a sense of connection, as learning to how I can see myself as an author now. Also, Dr. Lynch, I had the Links, which is another nonprofit organization. They came in and worked with the third graders. And the name of the book that they did was Nothing Special. The author of that book, she came in and she read the book to the students. And then we had we got together and we provided a writing assignment for the students to do. And the book talks about a special time with their grandparent. So we had the students to write about a time that you really enjoyed with your grandparent. The illustrations of the kids did was just beautiful. And just to see that sense of connection, that something they could connect to, that they could relate to the times that they spent with their grandparents. Or not only just a grandparent, it could have been a mom or a sister. But having that book and reading that book to them, it showed them that they could become an author just like the author of the book the twins, and also Nothing Special. So it was a learning experience for my students, and they enjoyed it. I was just so happy to see them engaged. Yes.
I'm going to come back to you because one of the things you haven't mentioned, but hopefully you mentioned at the next round, is how this was connected to students of color. Who were the people that visited? And I hope you shared with us. But I want to go to Ms. Helfman now.
Okay.
Ms. Helfman, so I would love for you to share, because I know you have a lot of practices that foster academic success and trust for your high school students.
Mm-hmm. Well, connection, again, is just at the center of everything we do in the classroom. And one of the things that creating an environment where they can be connected to the material requires is that we as educators give up a little bit of control. Like, it should be their space as much as it is our space. So for me, that means creating a lot of opportunities for them to shape the directions we're going to go in the class. It starts with as simple as allowing them to share their interests and to build background knowledge together as a class. Because we in the Michigan school system, right, my students have all come through, just like I did coming up, the public education system. There have been a lot of gaps at school in what we learn about. And in particular, it tends to be pretty Eurocentric when it comes to topics like world history. So a lot of my students, their knowledge about the wider world, and especially their knowledge about Africa, has come from their families who've done like a lot of efforts to take their kids to museums and just tell stories and educate them and get them excited about their connection to the past. So creating that room at the beginning of a unit for them to bring in that kind of knowledge and let them be the experts allows them already to start feeling a part and connected to the class. I continue that by allowing them choice within the units we study to explore those topics further. An example of that right now, they just finished up a unit on Afro-Eurasia during the era of the Silk Roads. And our main project was to create a travel guide. They were fascinating. There was a crazy fantasy premise that they came up with, that you fall back into the past through these various devices, and then you need a guide so you, modern person, can understand how to navigate 1,000 years ago back in the past. And I allowed the students to pick the stops. And this gave them the opportunity to look in regions of the world that they might be curious about, and to learn how to actually find out more and answer the questions that they brought to the project. I had some students do fantastic projects on Mali, the Mali Empire, where they were just stunned to learn about the history of griots, and that history was once sung to people and passed down locally, and now is connected to popular culture and music in America. I had other students who love K-pop choose to focus on Korea and its role, or its sort of relationship with China, especially the Song Dynasty. So it just allows them to own the material, which again fosters that connection. The final thing that I do is I myself have to do a lot of learning and research because of the gaps in my own education. So I study what we're supposed to learn. I try to meet my learning objectives, but I also go out and with the help and advice of Dr. Lynch, have been able to learn exciting things about the past in parts of the world that were skipped over and bring them to my students.
That's fabulous. So, Dr. Powell, tell us a little bit about how your partnership with AAI has allowed you, with the African American Institute, has allowed you to kind of meet your goals. What does that partnership entail? Can you give us some details?
Yes, so I have been truly blessed to have the AAI as a partnership, and having Dr. Lynch as my consultant. And when it relates to, because we're in the not in the we implemented a new, I want to say new. This is like our second year into the Wit and Wisdom reading series that we have, and then also the principal. As a principal, I have provided the teachers with, on Saturdays, we do a Saturday Institute. So as a part of our Saturday Institute, Dr. Lynch, with the, we started a book study with Soretta Hammond book on teaching, culturally responsive teaching in the brain. And this is to help teachers, and it actually just to help teachers understand who do they really know who their students are and what strategies they can use to help our students, African American population students, be successful. And one of the things she talked about, one of the strategies is just getting to know your students. So even during our morning announcement, after I end my morning announcement in a positive way, and I tell the students every morning, if no one didn't tell you they love you today, know that I love you. And just taking, that was one of the strategies she talked about in her book, is building a relationship. And this is how the staff I've seen a change in the staff as being positive in building a positive relationship with their students, not only the students, but with other staff in the building.
Will you talk a little bit about the books and your teacher assistants?
Yes. So kindergarten through second grade, as you all know, is the basic foundation. It's the most important foundation as a student coming into school. So with that said, with having this AAI as my partnership, they have provided kindergarten through second grade classes with a teacher assistant. Okay. And actually, I go through, so far I have one now that's been there maybe almost a month now. I interviewed one yesterday, and she is just so excited to become a part of Whitman family. I explained to her, how we look at data, and data drives instruction. And what our goal is to close that gap in kindergarten through second grade, to ensure that all of our students, kindergarten through second grade, have that basic foundation skills needed to move to third grade. So hopefully after this upcoming week, I'll have 2 teacher assistants, and one will cover, because I have 3 second grade classrooms. So I have second grade covered, and the new teacher assistant that we're going to bring on board, she'll be working with the first grade students. So I want to thank you, AAI, for providing this opportunity for our students. I wanted to go back, Dr. Lynch, if you didn't mind, to talk about the 2 books that the students, far as the book club with the After the Twins. I think it's very important that students now that I have to see people who look like them, and they can make their real life connection, and in the story, Nothing Special, she talked about having, it was some of the things that she mentioned in the book. And when she met with the students, what was it? The crab cake. And she talked about, how many of you have been fishing? And the majority of them raised their hand, but it's just, they were more fascinated and more engaged, I should say, in the illustration of seeing people who look like them. And that, what, here's an opportunity. I can become a writer. It was amazing. I was just very elated to see them really engage in the book. The book were twins. It talked about the 2 brothers, how they didn't get along at first, but then they, because they were twins, everybody thought they were going to be the same, but they wasn't. So, and then, and then again, going back to make that real life connection. When you have students that can make the connection, that increases their comprehension, and that increases their joy for reading.
Can you tell a little bit about the impact of the multicultural books on your teachers and on the students?
So also with the support of AAI, they purchased, AA AAI. They purchased, the teachers had an opportunity, they received $300 each teacher to purchase multicultural books for their library that they currently have. And Miss Cheney, who is my ESL teacher also, the books that she purchased, when the students come to her, because she kind of does a pull out with the kids, her ESL student. And so she came in, and Dr. Lynch, she was just so excited. She says, "Oh my God, please tell Dr. Lynch, thank you, thank you." And I said, "You know what, you received your book." She's like, "You know, when you can see a kid in second grade to come in, and when they do go to her class, they grab their book and they can actually read the book." And these are, some of them are monolingual, but they're bilingual students also in her class. And they sit there, and you sit there, and they can actually read, and you see that smile on their face. Yes, Doctor. And it was just amazing. And just to walk in when I do my walkthroughs, to see that the multicultural library is being used by all of the students, and the teachers are reading, doing they read aloud. So yeah.
That's so great. Thank you. So, Ms. Helfman, could you tell us about some of the, I don't know, the sharing that we have done and the impact that it's had on your teaching and on your students?
Oh yeah, it's like I know we all just want to give you your flowers, Dr. Lynch,
No, no,
because
no, no. Don't talk about me.
no,
Just
it's been I must, because you have such a wealth of experience and also just knowledge about the topics that we cover in my class, and it's just been instrumental in helping me kind of create a sense of myself as a teacher, and also my students benefit from it tremendously as well. Like, it filters down to them every single day. So I'm just so thrilled for the partnership we've had, and I cannot wait to see how it grows. For example, like on our meetings, I meet with Dr. Lynch every unit several times. We talk about problems I've been having in the classroom. We talk about ideas to make the content engaging to students. She connects me with resources, always sending me articles, things that are both for my own education and then things that are very student-centered. For example, a wonderful short story on Dahomey warriors for my students who are interested in learning about those topics. And just the kind of practical advice that I've gotten about how to frame history as thinking of a human family that's connected, that has relationships with each other, has helped me explain things to my students in ways that they understand and that they can see themselves in and feel a part of as well.
thank you. Well, we're going to kind of like close out now. So I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to just have some last words, whatever you would like to share, either about your hopes and dreams and plans for the future, or anything that you would like to share about how your work is impacting your students specifically. So, Dr. Powell, you're up first. You can just give us some closing statements, please.
So my closing statement, my goal, Dr. Lynch and Ms. Lindsay, is to increase our to continue to increase student achievement, okay? And through the help with the support with the AAI, we're going to continue to provide multicultural resources to my teachers, to continue that book study on what's a Zaretta Hammond book. And with my support system that we have in place here at Whitman, we have our attendance committee, we have our community in-school coordinator. I have our wonderful student support network team that provides academic support for students and monitor the use of proper intervention strategies. And just having those two teachers assistants will help us, our students reach their highest potential. And our goal is, as I said, is to make sure that we continue to provide them with multicultural resources. Having the consultant, Miss Dr. Lynch, I'm like the kids now, Miss Dr. Lynch. But anyway, Dr. Lynch, is to, with having your support, it really helps me to be that you like that second lens to me, that if I know that I need anything or something that I'm not quite sure, don't feel comfortable with, that as it relates to student achievement, I can call on you. So again, my goal is to continue to rise to the highest we can. And with the support of AAI and having you as my consultant, my support person is wonderful. It is. I'm listening to Lindsay and I'm shaking my head like, you are awesome. You're very knowledgeable. And it's just a blessing to have someone. And I thank God every day that Dr. Eccles providing or selecting Whitman Elementary to be a part of AAI.
Thank you so much. Ms. Helfman, closing words.
Coming up, I'd love to continue building the relationship with Dr. Lynch and with AAI. Looking forward to figuring out and finding how more primary sources to incorporate for my students from African perspectives and voices. It's been a struggle because language barriers, but also because of racism and inequality has made those sources for lots of reasons hard to find and not super accessible to high school students. So I'd love to help find ways to bring them those sources whenever possible. My big long-term goal coming out of the pandemic gradually is to help students build more connections outside of the classroom and kind of open up what we do here to our community more. I'd love to get students out helping to enrich our historical understandings here in Detroit of its connection, and importance, not just in the city, but important to world history, and bring some of world history into Detroit. I think that's really important for our students to foster not just knowledge, but also hope that with all the crisis facing them and the world today, that you can actually do something, and doing something, even something small, makes a difference. So that's what I hope to see in the coming years. Some ambitious goals, but I think we can do it.
No, they're good goals. Thank you both for sharing your wonderful work and talking with us about your students. It's just really always an honor to work with educators and to see that work actually impact our students, how they learn and what they learn. And I just, on behalf of the African American Institute, I love the fact that the African American Institute is focused on the fact that we know that if students have the opportunity to learn about Africa from a lens other than that of colonialism and about African American history and the diaspora, not from a lens of enslavement only, but really from a lens of who are these people and what have they achieved and how they impacted America, the United States, and all of the other countries in South America and the Caribbean. It's an amazing history. So I'm just very grateful that I can be a part of the work that the African American Institute is doing in that regard. And I thank you both for sharing your precious students and your schools and classrooms with me and with us. And thank you again. And now I think I'm supposed to return us to Amora, and here she is. Thank you.
My heart overfloweth. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You do the work that matters on the ground, and we so appreciate you. Dr. Letha Hopkins-Powell, Lindsay Helfman, and our very own Dr. Olivia Lynch. You are the blessing. And Ms. Helfman, you got to compliment that Silk Road with the Gold Road. Take a look at that website. And Dr. Letha, Dr. Hopkins-Powell, look at Africa Access Review. Look at all the books, all more books your teachers can be getting. Okay. We're going to post these resources, and we want you to take advantage of them, as Dr. Lynch knows. We're blessed. We really are.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.